Good morning, and today we're going to have a look at the start of the USA course. So what I have done here is created a mind map of all the three key areas that you need to know, along with just some contextual knowledge about the American political system. When doing a mind map, colour is really essential. So I've chosen orange because for me, orange symbolises the very start of the course. So I know instantly when looking at this mind map that orange is going to be for the very start of the course. It's also really important to work clockwise around your mind map so that you're able to then learn the context in a chronological order. But finally, trying to keep your points really quite short so that they're easy to remember. You should also try and add pictures into your mind map, but for those of you that know Miss Thomas well, I'm useless at drawing. So I'm going to start off first of all with the government. So, the government is led by the president. The first president of the United States of America was George Washington. He sets up the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is the set of laws. These are the laws that America should abide by. If you have a problem with one of those laws, you can take it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court being the top court in all of the land of America. So if you dispute one of those amendments, one of those laws within the Constitution, you can take it through your state government all the way up to your Supreme Court. Congress is like our version in England, in the UK, of Parliament. This is where the laws of the Constitution are made. And America, at the very start of its history, is split into two. States who make up and have representatives who sit in Congress to make the laws for the Constitution. But if a area of land within the USA is not large enough, it is known as a territory. So during this early part of America, we see lots of territories in America, not so many states. That changes as the course progresses. So I'm going to pause there. First of all, for your revision, I want you now to go away and research 3 original states, 3 of the 13 original states that were part of the America in 1789. Your second research question is I want you to name 13 states, okay, that then added themselves to the Union from 1719 to 1838. I would memorise 3 of those. And finally, for this section, I'd like you to work out and remember where are those laws made. I'm now going to move on to expansion. So, expansion happened with the Northwest and Southwest territories. President Thomas Jefferson led huge expansionism within these regions. Consequently, you get yeomen, farmers, who are going to expand their land and take opportunity and push Native Americans further off their land, expanding the territory further and further into these areas, increasing the size of America as we know it. The Treaty of Greensville. Now, this settles peace between the Native Americans and the American government, trying to take land off of the Native Americans who are indigenous to this area to give America extra land to inhabit. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Louisiana is a state down in the south of America. It has the port of New Orleans and the mouth of the Mississippi, which runs all the way up through the United States of America. The French government were really economically struggling and wanted to sell this land of Louisiana, and so they sold it for a very cheap price. America then gained 530 acres of land, which massively expanded the USA during this time. You've also got Lewis and Clark, 2 explorers who set out across the Missouri River, across to the Rockies, trying to find trade routes from the east to the west. Lewis and Clark are unsuccessful in finding that trade route. However, they do expand the land and allow Americans to settle further westwards, and they do set up quite good trading links with quite a few Native American tribes. As I said, 13 states originally were included in America in 1789, but a further 13 joined during this early part of the course. So, again, revision questions for you based on this section. I want you to explain why the Louisiana Purchase helped the USA to expand. I want you to describe what the Treaty of Greensville is. And I want you to be able to tell me why Lewis and Clark are so famous in helping America to expand. So our third section of this mind map is expulsion. Now this is mainly based on your Native Americans, indigenous people of this early part of the course. So one reason the Native Americans are expelled off their land, they're pushed off their land, is because those human settlers settling in the Southwest Territory. They simply push the Native Americans off their native lands so that they are able to inhabit the land and farm the land. You've got the 5 civilized tribes, the 5 civilized tribes who live in the southeast part of America, that region just to the north of Florida. Now, they are civilized because they try and interact and try and build relations with the Americans by becoming more Western. However, this fails because in 1830, Andrew Jackson, the President of the United States of the Americas at this time, brings in the Indian Removal Act, forcing the 5 civilized tribes off of their indigenous land and moving them further westwards. The Indian Removal Act was met with very different responses. So, for example, the Creek tribe, they moved westwards. The Cherokee tribe, they actually went to the Supreme Court, which we learned about up here. They tried to campaign and argue the case that they should be kept on the land. However, they failed and they were forced on the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears was a trail which led Native Americans further westwards for several months. Many have died of disease and through extreme weather conditions. The Seminole tribe tried to go to war, and they competed and fought in many wars. However, they lost against the US government. Overall, the Indian Removal Act led to a huge loss of land for those Native Americans. So again, your revision questions for this section right here. I want you to name 3 of those 5 civilized tribes. You need to remember those. I want you to work out and explain and learn which tribe challenged the Indian Removal Act and went to the Supreme Court. Can you remember which president set up the Indian Removal Act? And finally, what was the Trail of Tears? Finally, we're going to move on to our final section, exploitation. This is a slavery. This is your slavery part of the early part of the course. So again, starting at 1 o'clock roughly for our mind map to work in a clockwise rotation, you need to know that in the South, slavery is strong. I remember it as SSS, slavery, South, strong. Must remember that. Slavery was strong in the South because Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. The cotton gin was a machine that would clean the cotton once it had been picked. This led to a pushing system. The pushing system meant that more slaves had to be pushed into picking cotton so that they could feed them cotton gin continuously to clean that cotton, which increased the amount of cotton being produced, but also increased the number of slaves that were needed in the South. We discussed the Louisiana Purchase down in expansion, but it links with exploitation too. The Louisiana Purchase gave 530 acres of land, million acres of land to the US government, Because of this, they gained a huge amount of fertile farming land, plantation land, which meant that slavery could exist and thrive on this Louisiana Purchase. Consequently, it led to the Cotton Kingdom, a huge expanse of states in the South which thrived and developed slavery and cotton picking. Final part is the Missouri Compromise. Now, as the South became more powerful and the number of slaves increased, the North became more and more distressed and more upset. They were upset because they were having to pay their workers, but they were also upset because they believed that the slaves would be counted in the population and therefore the South would be more represented when it came to electoral votes. Therefore, the government came up with this idea of the Missouri Compromise. Missouri and any states to the south of the Missouri line would be a slave-owning state if it joined the Union. Any states that were above the Missouri line would then become a free state. The idea was that states would join in pairs, one being slave, one being free, therefore continuing the balance between the South and the North. This didn't increase slavery, but it did continue slavery. And then just moving on finally to the North sees your abolition, the idea to want to get rid of slavery. And this is because of the power that we are seeing growing in the South. So my final questions to you. Why is Eli Whitney famous? How did the Missouri Compromise try and solve divisions over slavery? And what is meant by a pushing system? Now, what I've tried to do within these mind maps is trying to keep it in chronological order. So the Treaty of Greensville, for example, is the first, then Louisiana Purchase, then Lewis and Clark. So I've tried to keep each of these into a chronological order for you to learn without learning the dates. If you wanted to copy this mind map, more than welcome to, but remember to keep words short. You can expand these further, but keep them to short answers, and pictures are really, really essential. Answer the questions for your revision, and that will really help you understand the bits that you have reviewed yourself as weakest on. Thank you.